All right, Shalom. It started out by saying Ka Halayim La Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Harakak Wadash, my Amaf. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, my elder Herawan as well. Salutations to the argument that are pushing this truth to sincerity and truth, and peace and blessing to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. All right, I'm Kanaks Anban Yashar from the Lions Den of Yashar camp, and uh, doing a quick lesson on this article for the news and prophecy page. And the article reads, it says, Russia just told the world why it would start a nuclear war. All right. It says, what is the level of threat that would make Russia start a nuclear war? Our own analysts explain Russia's latest announcement. So, Russia just made an announcement on how um, what 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 certain actions would partake, and their response would be nuclear war. And we all know, according to the prophecies of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, that's inevitable anyway. We already know this is how it's going to start. I mean, this is going to happen. So, as a matter of fact, I want to start things off, kick it off with Malachi 4:1. It says, "For behold, the day of the Lord cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And none in that day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai. It shall leave them neither root nor branch." So, with that being said, that's the end all tell all. And that's explaining the nuclear fire. It says shall burn them up. All right, and this is what the scriptures talk about, the prophecy of Babylon the Great. Um, like, you know, Yahweh Shem Shai destroyed the earth the first time with water, but this time it's going to be with fire. And that fire is going to be nuclear fire, due to ICBM missiles, man, intercontinental ballistic missiles. And it's going to be the judgment of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. It says, in Isaiah chapter 9, verse 5, it says, "For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this one shall be burning and fuel of fire," right? And so you had your sticks and stones, hand-to-hand combat, swords, shields, and all things like that. And then what happened after that? It escalated, went from guns to bombs, and went from bombs to atomic bombs, and that's where we enter into. Um, this one shall be a fuel of fire, and that it's the same fire that was just spoken of in Malachi chapter 4, verse 1. All right, so going into the article, it says Kremlin clarifies existential threat precursor that would prompt nuclear war. All right, and the Kremlin is it's kind of like it's the capital of Moscow. All right, it says the Kremlin is a fortified complex in the center of Moscow, founded by the Rurikids ruling dynasty. All right, so this is the lineage of Russia. It says it is best known of the Kremlin's Russian citadels, and includes 5 palaces, 4 cathedrals, and enclosing Kremlin wall. That's funny they have cathedrals there, but you know Russians are atheists. All right, it says Kremlin towers. All right, it says in addition, within the complex is the Grand Kremlin Palace, that was formerly the Tsar's Moscow residence. The complex now serves as an official residence of the president. So this is where Vladimir Putin is. So it's kind of like Washington D.C. The Kremlin is. That's probably the capital of Moscow. Um, it's in Moscow, capital of Russia. Um, yeah, it's in the center of Moscow. All right, so that's what the Kremlin is. So going back to the article, it says, so basically, these are the ones that calls the shots. Like everybody in the Pentagon, and Washington D.C. calls the shots. Whatever it's Europe says to do. All right, it says during the early days of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the Kremlin appeared to lean into the use of vague threats of nuclear war as a way of discouraging Western countries from supplying Ukraine with weapons, ammunition, and other military equipment. All right, so But here's the thing: Russia's not pump faking. They're not throwing vague threats of nuclear war. This is these are promises. All right. So because this is all according to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai and his doing. All right. As a matter of fact, let me get I'm gonna Ezekiel. Hold on. All right. This is Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 10. It says, "Thus saith the Lord, power." So really, um, Ezekiel 38 is going into how Gog and Magog, speaking of Russia, um, coming against America. All right, but this particular verse right here is what I was looking for because it says vague threats of nuclear war, but they're not vague threats; they're promises. And it's Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai stirring up the mind of Vladimir Putin to bring forth this nuclear war against NATO, America, and the European Union. All right, it says Ezekiel 38 and 10, it says, "Thus saith the Lord, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, it shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages." All right, and that's talking about America. It says, "I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, and having neither bars nor gates." And that's how America's sitting right now, because America doesn't feel like it could be taken down. Um, they feel like they got NATO backing them up, they got the European Union backing them up. So that's why, and it's really manipulation of the minds of the people to say that Russia's making vague nuclear threats. These are promises, man. All right. So basically, in this article is letting everybody know what it would take for these what they call vague threats to come to pass. All right. But what they don't understand is it's all because of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. This is Revelations um chapter 20 verse 7. It says, "And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison." Right. All right. So Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai had Esau locked up in his prison for 1,000 years, and this was around the time during the Byzantine Empire, the fall of Rome, um, and then the re-rise of Rome again with the Ottoman Turks. All right, around the 1400, 1426, if I'm not mistaken, or 1486. I'm not sure, but it says, "And when the 1,000 years were expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go to deceive the nations which are at the four corners of the earth." Right. So immediately when Esau came out of the pits, they became they went into perdition, meaning went into destruction. So that was all on their mind. Greed and gain, which is going to cause them to destroy the earth. But Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is going to put a stop to it, to where they're not going to destroy the earth; they're going to destroy themselves, right? And the elect will be delivered from that destruction that's going to be brought down by Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. All right, verse 8, Revelation 20 and 8, it says, "And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea." All right, and that's what we're going to witness in. You have troops building up over there in the Middle East. You've been having that since the early 2000, like uh, 1980, 90 something, and then 2000, when they're looking for weapons of mass destruction and all that kind of stuff. which they found nothing. And North Korea's like saying, we got the weapons of mass destruction, come check us out. And America didn't want to do nothing. But now you got countries like Russia that's going to call America's bluff. All right. All right, back to the article. It says, speaking to CNN in March, senior Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov warned that an existential threat to Russia could be enough to warrant the use of nuclear weapons. We have a concept of domestic security, and it's public. You can read all the reasons for nuclear arms to be used, Peskov said. It prompted criticism from the Pentagon, with spokesperson John Kirby describing the Kremlin official's comments as dangerous. Of course, it's dangerous because he ain't bluffing. This is real. It says, it says, it's not the way a responsible nuclear power should act, he said. But all they're doing is doing what, falling behind what America does. America does all this bullying around, and to stop the bullying, um, to stop the bullying, um, Russia had to invade Ukraine, man, to protect themselves, but to get America NATO off their back door. So basically, um, the more threats and the bigger the risk for the citizens of Russia, the more drastic measures that Russia and Vladimir Putin feels like they have to take. All right. It says in May, the deputy chairman of the Russian Security Council, Dmitry um, Medvedev, appeared to threaten Western nations in a telegram post with possible nuclear war. The Russian official warned of a catastrophic conflict that expanded beyond Ukrainian borders. And they've been saying this for a minute. I've done a few lessons on that. All right. It says such a conflict always has the risk of turning into a full-fledged nuclear war, Medvedev said. And of course, this is exactly what's going to turn into. It says this can be a catastrophic scenario for everyone, but not to the elect. All right. So going back to Malachi 4:1, the reason why I say that is let's read it again. It says, "For behold, the day cometh." So speaking of that nuclear war that they're talking about, it says, "For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that shall leave them neither root nor branch." All right. So now that's catastrophic to the world. But however, it says, verse 2, it says, "But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and shall go forth and grow up as calves in the stall." All right. So Yahweh Shai is going to show up, all right, with the new bodies, right? And we're going to be in those chariots, and we're going to forever be with the Lord, man. And it's in verse 3, it says, "And ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, power of hosts." All right. So so we look forward for this conflict to unfold, because this is all prophecy of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and this is what we prophesy week in and week out, day in and day out, morning, noon, and night. And the elect are going to prophesy of these things all the way to the end till it comes to pass, and the word of Yahweh Shem Yahushai is manifested. All right. So it says, over the last 6 months, however, the closest the Ukrainian-Russian conflict has come to a nuclear catastrophe has been the occupation of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant by Russian forces. All right. The continued occupation of the nuclear facility carries with it the risk of missiles strikes, causing damage and triggering a meltdown. All right. So Russia is occupying this nuclear power plant, and if any strikes are gone against Russia at this time, it could cause a meltdown. It says, this week a Russian official provided some clarity on the Kremlin's position on nuclear conflict and exposed Russia's rhetoric on the matter as a bluff. I doubt it. It says, Analysts with a Kremlin official said this week on nuclear war. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov explains Russia's position on nuclear conflict and dealt during an interview with Izvestia. The Kremlin official said that 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 Russia intends to avoid nuclear war if possible, that only an emergency situation will prompt the Russian government to authorize a nuclear attack. But it's not up to them to authorize it, you know. You know, how about Shimon Shai is gonna shoot off all those missiles, man. He's gonna make sure all of them are shot off. It says when asked what condition would prompt Russia to resort to use of nuclear weapons, Ryabkov referenced the doctrinal guidelines found within the fundamentals of the state policy of Russian Federation in the field of nuclear deterrence. A government document that outlines the Kremlin's approach to the use of nuclear weapons. Russia hypothetically allows a nuclear response only in response to aggression with the use of weapons of mass destruction against us or our allies, or aggression using conventional weapons when a very existence of the state is threatened. Ryabkov said. That's just any stage of a war. That's any stage of a war. All right. Salakia. It says the key word is both scenarios is aggression. In other words, Russia's use of nuclear weapons is possible only in response to an attack for self-defense or extraordinary circumstances. The Kremlin officials stressed that there is no room for speculation for fantasy, potentially implying that Russia has never come close to using nuclear weapons and is unlikely to use them, at least in the short term. So that's I don't know if they're saying that Russia being close to using nuclear weapons is just a fantasy or what they're trying to say. But all in all, you know, Yahweh Shimon Shai is going to, make sure, Russia plays its part in the prophecies, man. It is what it is, So the Lord's going to stir up the spirit of the Medes in Russia. As a matter of fact, let me get Isaiah. Isaiah 13. This is Isaiah 13 and 17. It says, "Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it." All right. So now that happened, to Babylon because Darius the Mede came in and you know, and took Belteshazzar down that same very night that he saw the hand drawing on the wall. But um, you know, but it's gonna happen again to this Babylon. All right. As a matter of fact, let me find it. Salakia, 1 second. All right, let me get Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 11. It says, "Make bright the arrows, gather the shields." It says, "Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord has the Lord has raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple." Right. So the Lord's going to raise up the spirit of the Medes in Russia. All right, it says make bright the arrows. So there is going to be nuclear war in this place, man. And Russia's going to, you know, be one of the front runners popping it off against America and NATO. You know. All right, so I just wanted to go and get a couple scriptures and go through that article real quick. Lord, Williams' lesson was edifying the service purpose without a like say Kyle Halayim, La Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Harikak Wadash, my mouth. Double honors to the elder apostles, a great millstone to my elder Heroin as well. Salutations to the occupant of pushing the truth and sincerity and truth. And peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Shalom.